Mi gente, hello and welcome to Kica's Corner. My name is Kica and I am your host. The goal for this show is to focus on interesting topics or people, social justice issues, and maybe a scandal or two. But always, 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 whatever we talk about will always have a social justice edge. Today we're going to talk about dance, specifically tap dance. We're going to talk about its history and evolution and its modern form. We're going to talk about the intersection of dance and feminism, and all of this seen through the eyes of my amazing guest, Alexis Robbins. First, let me start by sharing a little bit and doing some framing about tap to get the conversation started. Tap dance has a long and quite complicated history in the United States. It's quite old and dates back to the 1800s. I did a little bit of research on tap, and I came across a passage that describes tap dance as a mesh, a combination of Irish and African American influence brought over from immigration and slavery. It combines elements of Irish step dancing and African American juba dancing, and officially originated in the 1800s. During slavery, African Americans were forbidden to use any type of drums or instruments, so they began dancing and making percussive beats with their feet. Tap dance then went on to become a vital part of jazz music culture and broader mainstream musical culture. Like many Black art forms, there was a very painful time in our history when it was appropriated with a threat of racism, both in minstrel shows and most notably in movies featuring Bill Bojangles Robinson and Shirley Temple in the 1930s. Tap dance today is a highly regarded, uniquely American art form. And as I understand it, there are two distinct styles. One is rhythm dance, and the other is its flashier cousin, Broadway tap. And to help us unpack all of this, I have with me in the studio today Alexis Robbins. Alexis is a dancer, a choreographer, and she's also the founder of kamrDANCE Studio, which is based in New York City. Thanks to her partner, and if he's listening, I want to say thank you. Alexis is relocated to New Haven, and she recently started teaching tap dance here. So Alexis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here. So let me start with what I heard. I heard a rumor about you, and the word on the street is that you actually started tap dancing at the age of 2.
Yes, yeah.
How did that happen?
My mom just threw me into class, and apparently I cried, and I was very shy and did not want to be there at all. But then that quickly changed, and I was just doing all the things: ballet, tap, jazz, like your stereotypical like 3-year-old goes to ballet, tap combo class kind of stuff. Yeah, and then that bloomed into a passion for tap dance. And definitely partially because also my father's a percussionist. He played the drums in a band, and so I feel like he had a large influence on my rhythmic self growing up.
Did you tap with your father while he played percussion?
Not really so much, but more so he would give me like mild music lessons here and there, or he would play music for me that he loved, either like Bruce Springsteen or Dave Matthews, or and he would play me records of like super famous percussionists, and he would just be like, all right, we're just gonna like sit here and listen to this 20-minute percussion solo. Wow. So yeah, not so much that I danced to his percussion, but that he definitely helped my understanding of music.
And what was it in particular about tap? And I know that you not only you're a dancer, and your dance repertoire cuts across a number of different areas. But what is it about tap that hooked you from an early age?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I grew up in Southern Rhode Island, very small town, very small dance studio, and I was good at it. Like the rhythms made sense to me, timing, musicality made sense to me, the footwork felt good in my body. And then I was like, I think I need to know more about this, because I wasn't really getting like a great education of its history or anything until I was more so a teenager. So yeah, it came naturally to me, and then it wasn't until I branched out of my small world of my small dance studio that I actually learned more about it, and then fell in love with all of these dancers and musicians that I started learning from, who just, I mean, they'll blow your mind, like how they can just improvise with live jazz musicians for hours on end. Yeah, so I guess a combination of yeah, it feeling natural, and then realizing its beauty, and getting the chance to learn more about it. And I mean, it's a full body experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are fully dancing with your whole body, which people don't really realize. Like, they think it's just your feet,
Right.
but your entire body's involved. And you are creating music, so there's something really special about that.
And I know you're modest, so I'm going to just sort of lay out your trajectory as what I think is a tap prodigy. But you went from starting to tap at age 2 to teaching tap at age 13 to joining the Boston Tap Company to then studying it in college, and now you teach it and perform it and choreography it. Talk to us about your journey and evolution.
Okay. So, I mean, when I was, quote, teaching at 13, that was, to little kids, and I was assisting classes. And then, yeah, some of our teachers just kind of left our studio, and it like was sort of upon my shoulders to cover a lot of the tap classes. And then in high school, I started choreographing for like competition solos and the adult classes that we held. Yeah, but it wasn't until I attended Tap Kids Summer Intensive under the direction of Lisa Hopkins, and joined the Boston Tap Company under the direction of Sean Fielder, that I really started to be like, oh, okay, like this is this whole world that I like didn't know about outside of my, like, again, my tiny bubble. And yeah, I mean, getting to attend Tap Kids 5 years in a row was game changing. I didn't know or understand or feel confident about improvisation until I was just like, it was just like, okay, here you are with live musicians, dance here, like just do it. And I was like, what? Because I was not taught that as a practice. And then I was like, oh wow, like I need to understand this more. I need to be able to do this more. Yeah, and then getting to dance with the Boston Tap Company, it was truly a gift. And I wish I had found it so much sooner. Because Sean is amazing, and has, even in the short time that I got to work with him, had a very large impact on how I move and how I approach certain movements. He's definitely like very Jimmy Slide kind of influenced, and moves a lot in that way. And so that's kind of become a part of my movement as well. And then, yeah, I went to Hofstra University. I got a BA in dance and a BS in exercise science, because
With honors.
taking endless classes is so fun. And Anita Feldman, although she recently retired, she was the tap teacher there at Hofstra, and she used to have a tap company, and she used to create amazing work with David Parker and all these people, Lynn Schwab, and
these are all well-known figures in the tap dance world.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so Anita definitely influenced my choreographic self, and in that, because I'm also a contemporary dancer, a modern dancer, and my contemporary dance self, it very much influences how I move as a tap dancer, and kind of vice versa. And she very much helped, like, shaped that for me. And it's because of Hofstra's amazing opportunities for student choreography that I got to make a lot of work as a student. And I got to show it a lot, and I got to get a lot of feedback on it, like in professional venues as a student, which was really incredible, and aided me in being able to. So, well, I mean, I still, do we ever feel like we know what we're doing? No, but like it definitely has helped me enter, quote, the real world as an artist, in terms of like applying to be in shows and creating work as a professional dancer. And yeah, so now kamrDANCE, which I just want to correct you really quick. It's not a studio. It's just a dance company. We don't have like a physical location. Yeah.
Okay.
um, but yeah, I've just been trying to create work that combines my love of tap and contemporary dance together. And so the company has evolved significantly over the past 3 years. We're entering year 4, which is crazy to me, but my current cast of dancers, I have one other tap dancer besides myself who's from Brazil, and she's incredible. And then I have 4 contemporary dancers who are all, they're not trained tap dancers, but they have an understanding of rhythm and musicality, and they're very open-minded and willing to just like, I kind of sometimes make them tap dance but barefoot. And at times they're apprehensive, but for the most part they're definitely amazing and open-minded.
Why do you make them tap dance barefoot? What's the idea behind that?
There are times, and actually right now I'm trying to make something new where all 6 of us are in a piece together. So you have 4 people who are barefoot, like, you know, jumping, rolling all over the floor, doing all this crazy physical stuff, and then 2 of us who are tap dancing. And I do occasionally have us do some like mild floor work as well, but there are times where I want us to link up in complete unison, like everyone's doing the same thing.
Okay.
Which I think visually is really exciting when different things are happening and then we join together and it's like, wait, those contemporary dancers that just had their legs all over the place are tap dancing with the tap dancers. I just think it's visually and aesthetically exciting.
You did an interview recently where you stated that tap is an American art form. Its roots are beautiful and its roots are sad. What did you mean by that?
So tap is definitely an African American art form, and it was born here in the United States. And you actually, you really did your homework. I was just like, okay, she knows all the stuff. So I mean, you said it pretty well earlier, but what I meant by its roots are sad is that it's rooted in racism, and it stemmed from slavery. Like it exists because of slavery, and because, like you said, they were not allowed to have drums. I mean, they often really weren't allowed to communicate with each other at all. And so creating rhythms with their feet, they could like send messages to each other and find ways to find any ounce of happiness that you could find in such circumstances. So an incredibly sad history, but of course, you know, when you think about how beautiful it is today, like, so that's what I meant by it's beautiful and yet also incredibly sad, and we need to always honor that and be aware of that. And how timely that we're having this conversation, and it's Black History Month.
Yeah.
And they just honored Gregory Hines on a stamp. So now he has a picture on a Forever USA stamp thanks to the U.S. Postal Service. Yeah, and it for Black Heritage. Yeah, so that's really exciting. They just had a huge ceremony for him to celebrate the stamp.
That's fantastic. So I watched you dance last fall. You danced in the New Haven Green at lunchtime on a Friday, and you danced with the Bregamos healing drummers. And you guys had actually never met before. And you started what I thought was this incredibly beautiful, inspirational, what I thought of as call and respond. And one of the things I was struck by when I watched you dance was I thought she's a percussionist, right? Because you were using your feet as a method of percussion. And I thought the communication that you were having with musicians, to me, and this is, I'm not an expert, but to me, what it spoke of was an exchange of rhythms, that you were deeply connected with the drummers. And then I came across a quote from tap dancer and actor Savion Glover, and he said, "I'm more a percussion instrument than a dancer." So how do you define tap? Is it dance? Is it percussion? Or is it both?
I would say it's equally both.
Okay.
But certainly a legend like Savion is known for I mean, his footwork is out of this world, and like whether or not you know that you've seen him, you have, because if you know Elmo, or if you know Happy Feet, or if you know like many other recorded taps that sounds on in movies, that's probably Savion. But yeah, I would say it's equally both. Because like I was saying earlier, it's a full body commitment. Like I think there's this misconception that like tap dancers don't use their arms or have upper body quote choreography, and even though it's not necessarily always choreographed, like your arms and your upper body have to help you get on and off the floor, because it's this constant transfer of weight, constant transfer of getting from one foot to the other, on and off the floor, in ways that are rhythmically interesting and aesthetically fun to watch. But certainly, like I think of Savion as a musician probably before I think of him as a dancer, even though he's brilliant, obviously, at both. But yeah, for me, it's equal part. You're a percussion musicianist, you are a jazz instrument, and you're a dancer.
You're listening to Kica's Corner on WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio, broadcast at 103.5 FM and live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. What's the difference between rhythm tap and Broadway style tap?
So rhythm tap, which is what I do, is more, I mean, just that focus more rhythmically, and also aesthetically tends to be a bit more into the floor and a bit I mean more focused on musicality rather than the aesthetic of like flashiness or tricks or yeah, so so and Broadway can have, that's a broad term, it can have a lot of definitions like within a broader sense, but it's generally like a bit more of like a flashier upper body, like you see more arms or like quote jazz hands, and more like doing traditional time steps and or things that are simpler rhythmically but more so aesthetically pleasing in terms of, it depends, and that'll always depend on like the show it's in, or but it's definitely more focused in that direction. So, and I think we could have a whole other conversation about how that's used in like dance competitions and how that kind of like takes away from musicality and rhythm and history of tap dance. But yeah, I'll leave that at that.
And thanks to Harry, your producer here, he set up a little space in the studio and he set up the camera, and Alexis has agreed to tap for us. I'm going to move the microphone so we can hear a little bit better. Wow, that's amazing. All right, Harry, your turn. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Alexis. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of your more current work. What I understand reading about some of your recent work is that you've started looking at the intersection between feminism and dance, including looking at the limitations of the human body, particularly for women. And I know recently you and I had a conversation about women and bodies and strength. Talk to us a little bit about that body of work.
So it's definitely not yet a body of work. Slowly
Evolving,
but surely becoming one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm highly influenced by authors Roxane Gay, Oberman, and Renee Anglin. Oh, sorry. I'll say it again. Roxane Gay, Michelle Oberman, Renee Anglin, and it's a long list, but Michelle. Excuse me, Renee Anglin has a book called Beauty Sick, and it's a whole lot of research about body image, and she has this whole body image lab. And something that she wrote about that really struck me and really kind of was like, oh, I have to do something about this is the idea that we often, or women often, don't think about their bodies as things that just do. Like we don't think of our bodies as like, my body carries me from this place to the next. My body supports me when I do X, Y, and Z. My body is there for me from when I wake up to when I go to bed. Instead, it's like I appear. I have to dress myself and put on makeup and do all this stuff so I can look the way that society expects me to look, and so that I can please others and make other people comfortable around my body and around everything on my body. So it's not often that it's just like that women are like, my body just does shit. Like my body is strong, my body can support me, and it doesn't need to be decorated for other people to enjoy. It should be there for you. And of course, with that said, decorate it however you want to freaking decorate it, not to please others, but to please yourself. So that's the like very general idea that we're working on in rehearsals right now. And of course there are like facets of the, so much we can pull apart so much from that. So the idea of like always having to uphold this appearance, and in my choreography I'm trying to find ways to like go to the extreme of that, and then pull it back and be like, okay, what are we really commenting on? And also starting to toy with the idea of anger and women not being allowed to be angry or to voice anger ever. Because like, God forbid we raise our voices about anything, because if we do, we're crazy. The idea that these limitations, like so going back to being something that does instead of something that appears, like having to just appear all the time is tiring, and it makes us angry, but then we're not allowed to be angry, so we have all this like pent up anger and like we deserve to be angry whenever we damn well please. So transferring that into movement and into rhythm and into combining that as much as possible. I mean, I started toying with these thoughts in September, but we're still, I would say, in like the early stages of all these ideas, because sometimes I walk into rehearsal and I keep throwing like new things at them. I'm like, let's try this, and my dancers are amazing. Like they give me amazing feedback and ask questions, and we talk about our real life experiences. Like the first thing I asked them in a more recent rehearsal was, think of a time when you were in an interaction and like you were belittled, or like something happened that like made you angry, but you didn't respond with anger, and like how did that make you feel, and like what happened, and do you wish you had responded differently, or did you not respond with anger because you weren't safe, so we have those conversations a lot together.
And your idea is that you're developing a piece of choreography that will be performed at some point in time in the near future?
So we're gonna perform little bits of this new stuff actually in Providence, Rhode Island in April at AS 220. They're a black box theater, part of the Modern Movements Festival. I'm excited about that. So that's at the end of April. We'll be traveling there. And then ideally, I'm working towards this becoming like a full length piece.
Okay.
But TBD on where, when, how, and all that fun stuff.
And do you think eventually you'll perform in New Haven?
Oh, I would love to.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
I've been searching for opportunities and applying to things here, so we'll see.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And talking about New Haven, how did you come to New Haven?
So I feel like this is the story for a lot of people, but my amazing significant other got a 2-year postdoctoral fellowship at Yale in the climate Yale program on climate change communication. He's a social psychologist, and he's doing amazing work there, and they're all doing amazing work. So,
and how do you feel about New Haven? Are you settling in? Are you comfortable? Are you missing New York?
I do miss New York.
That's all right.
I mean, but like I go there now like every other weekend or so I'm still there, but I definitely miss just like access to dance classes and of course like all of my friends, but I'm making new connections here and new friends here, of course. No, we love our apartment. We're walking distance from downtown, which is nice. Yeah, and I feel like I'm finding little families here and there with where I'm spending my time in New Haven. So yeah.
And you teach tap in New Haven, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've started an open tap class, 2 classes actually on Fridays now. So it's in Erector Square at Enlighten Personal Training and or the Connecticut Capoeira Center.
And it's on 315 Peck Street.
Yeah.
Okay. And Fridays at what time?
So Fridays at 5 p.m. is the beginner class. So that goes 5 to 6:30, and then at 6:30 is an intermediate class. So if you've never danced or tap danced before, or if like you tap danced forever ago and you know it's been a while, there's a beginner class for you that's totally open. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to have tap shoes. Like just come, show up, have fun.
And any age group?
Yeah. Well, I mean adults, but so like the 18 and up crowd. And then the intermediate class, we have a few people who have a few years of experience. So we're moving a little bit more in that class. Yeah, so there's 2 options, and it's only
Friday at 2 for beginners and
Friday at 5.
I'm sorry, Friday at 5 for beginners, and then the intermediate is
6:30.
6:30 on Friday.
And it's just $10.
Okay,
so
cool.
Very affordable.
You're listening to Kica's Corner on WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio, broadcast at 103.5 FM and live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. We are unfortunately coming to the end of the show. And as with all of my guests, it's time to get personal. So, Alexis, I have a bunch of questions for you. Okay. Who is your shiro or hero?
Oh, just like anyone?
Anyone.
Oh, boy. I mean, right at this very moment, it's Roxane Gay because I just listened to her speak for almost 2 hours the other night, and I've read like 4 of her books, and her writing is heavily influencing my thoughts towards what I'm working on in my choreography. So, and she's incredible. If you don't know who she is, you should go read everything she's ever written.
Very cool. I read her book Hunger.
Yes,
it's really good. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would say flying, because cars are killing the earth, and I have a bike, but like if I could just apparate places, if I could just like snap my fingers and be somewhere and like or like take away all the travel time.
Yeah.
If I think about all the time I would get back in my life that I've spent on a train or in a car. Yeah, so if I could just like apparate like in Harry Potter, that'd be cool.
Very cool. We have a pizza question.
Okay.
Sally's, Pepe's, or Modern Pizza?
Oh boy. Okay, so
I don't think either, right? You have another.
I haven't been to Sally's yet. I've been to Modern and Pepe's, and I gotta say that I really love Dalania.
I was gonna say, I know you have another one because you told me
and
you
also
had
bar.
Okay.
And I feel like that's been dubbed as like, oh, the young newbies,
Yeah.
like those places. But sorry, yeah,
That's all right. Do you eat the mashed potato pizza at bar?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I had never had it before. And then they were like, you have to get mashed potatoes on your pizza. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing ever. And then now that's all I ever want in life. So
I've never had the pizza there, but I will go.
Good. And their beer is good.
Okay. If you could have one wish granted, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
Just one.
Just one. I mean, if oh geez. Just one thing.
I say the hardest question for last. Yeah.
I know. I mean, if we could live in a country that had just like super awesome reproductive rights that all women had super easy access to, I think that'd be the coolest thing ever. There's a longer list after that, of course, but if that's my one wish, then I would go with that.
I'm right there with you, sister. Folks, this brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for listening, and thank you to my guest, Alexis Robbins.
Thank you.
And again, if you're interested in learning to tap, classes are on Fridays at 5 for beginners and Fridays at 6:30 for intermediate.
Yes.
Until the next time, here is wishing you days filled with happiness, justice, and sunshine.
Yay.
Thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.